slides are up. Can you hear me? Yes, I don't know who made me the sacrificial lamb to have to follow that. But, I'm really happy for Simon. I've worked with the global team now for about 25 years. And I can tell you, all of you are very blessed to have Simon as your managing director because he does an incredible job. My talk today, I don't know what the topic was on the sheet, but I'm actually going to talk about understanding the direct selling industry and where we fit into it. So I have a question, and maybe I can see everybody's hands. How many of you have heard something negative about network marketing? Okay, if you look around, I think there's everybody's hands up. If it isn't, I encourage you to talk to 10 more people and you'll get there. And years ago, I was at a Direct Selling Association annual meeting. The Direct Selling Association, for those of you that don't know, is like the association that looks after our industry. They fight for our rights, they protect our business model, and they protect all our futures. And at this particular business model, the person that ran it came out and he was just irate. He was on a rant in front of the crowd. And his rant was all about, I don't understand with all this industry has to offer, why so many people think so poorly of direct selling and in particular network marketing. And it got me curious too. So I started 24 years ago collecting data and about our industry from the Direct Selling Association, from all of their sources. Recently, about 6 months ago, I decided to write a book on this subject because I feel that it's important for us to educate the general public so they can have a better understanding of what we're about. And today I want to share with you a little bit about that so that you can better understand our industry. So to start that, we have to start with a little bit of perspective because we only know what we know and we only know the business as we see it today. But I think when you get a little history about how business has evolved, you'll begin to understand why our business model is not only important, it's not only one of the best business models in the world, but it's a business model that's literally changing the face of the world today. So let's start with the history lesson. If you look at this, this is a graph of GDP. GDP is just the total economic output of society. And as you can see, going all the way back to 10,000 in BC, everything pretty much looked the same until all of a sudden, at one point in time, where history was going like this with economic output, it went straight up. And if I were to go deeper into this and you begin to see how big this divergence is, and if I take it into today's time, you begin to see that the world's very different today. The world is the haves and have-nots. And if we were to kind of look at it in terms of history, here's what I would tell you. In the past, before 1800, literally going back to 100,000 BC, people were no better off in 1800 than they were 100,000 years earlier. And if you look at it in terms of today's dollars, the average person in the world made somewhere between $1 to $3 a day. So of course we've got to think, well, it's a different world now. This isn't the same way. And what we realize is when we look at today, for most of the world hasn't changed at all. For most of the world, 2/3 of the world today is living off of $2 a day. And if we look at kind of the global economy, we're at about 45 a day, about 15 times greater. But the U.S. economy is the biggest at $148 a day. And I share this with you because I always remember this quote, what we take for granted, other people pray for. So it's important that as we look at a business model, we have something that fits to all these that can begin to shape and change the world. And of course, if we go into the future, here's what's happening economically. The world's changing, and the rich are getting richer, and everybody else is paying for it. And from this, we come back to a really important question. What happened? What happened to change the landscape of business, to change the way the entire world of economics worked? And this was this big area where this divergence was created. And I will tell you, what happened was the birth of a concept called capitalism. Somebody figured out that the best way to make more money was to let other people make more money with them, that they could win bigger if more people played in the game. And this was a birth of a new economic mindset. And this was the first time, think about this, this has only been a couple hundred years ago, the first time in history that the concept of upward mobility existed. Before that, all you did is work for whoever had power. Now we know, as we look across the world, that anybody has the opportunity to succeed. And what we really created was the birth of a formula, and this starts to talk about the direct selling industry. This was the formula. I call it the business wealth formula, that all wealth in business is created by two variables, you and how much you're paid off of the efforts of others. So the you component becomes relatively limiting because, of course, you can only put so much time in. There's only so many hours in a day and so many days in a week. But, of course, if we learn to leverage and to create revenue from the power of relationships and leverage from others, what we understand about business is there's unlimited potential for income. So now we say, well, how does this apply to the direct selling industry? And how does this really work with us? Well, if you look at the history of the direct selling industry, what you first understand is it's went through an evolution. The first direct sellers were not network marketers. Network marketing didn't exist. The first direct sellers had a concept, and the concept of we're going to sell a product, we need a storyteller. And the storytellers do a better job marketing a product. And this was the birth of direct selling. And then maybe in the 60s, early 70s, there was this new concept that was born. And look at the difference from the business wealth formula. Now, instead of selling directly and having unlimited customers, we can do that. We have the same components of direct selling, but more important, we can build a team. And because of that team, we have unlimited potential. And this is kind of the birth of network marketing. If we look at how much of network marketing is direct sales, understand, in my opinion, direct sales and network marketing are the same thing. Today, about 95% of all companies that are in our industry are actually network marketing companies. Why do you think that is? Go back to the wealth formula. Which one do you think makes more sense? To build a team, to build a network, to build a family. And then, of course, it's staggering to have how proven our industry is. I'm always amazed, and maybe you hear this over here, when people talk about our industry and they say it's an illegal pyramid and it's a scam, and I never know what information they're looking at to determine this, but I want to share with you the real information that's out there. So first of all, this is a history of 24 years, and if you look at 24 years, our business, our industry, has done $2.45 trillion in sales. Now, if you look at that graph, what does that graph look like to you? Look like a long-term uptrend? That's what it's been for over 24 years. You know something else about that graph? Look what it's been doing the last 4 years. Things are growing faster and faster. Now, some people don't really have a perspective about how much $1 trillion is. To give you kind of a couple examples, if I were to take your economy, the UK does about 2.6 trillion in GDP, in total output every year. So think about all the products and services that occur in a year. It's about that much in sales. If I were to give it to you in a more kind of understanding way with time and money, let me give you these examples. If I were to put $1 trillion in time, understand that 1 million seconds would be 12 days, 1 billion seconds would be 31 years, 1 trillion seconds takes you back to 30,000 years before Christ. If I go one step further and take it in money, understand that if we spent $1 every day, every second of every day, it would take 312,688 years to spend $1 trillion. And even if we ramped it up and said, let's spend $1 million an hour, nonstop 24 hours a day, it would take you 411 years in order to spend $1 trillion. So make no mistake, 2.4 trillion is a lot of money. What's a little bit scary is most of our governments can do this. And this is going to create some interesting challenges down the road. The other question that I was looking at is, it's nice to know that it's proven, but is it growing? So when I look at the sales, what I recognize is the sales over this 24-year period have actually went up 380%. And what's really interesting about this is when you compare the sales of our industry, the growth of our industry, compared to, did I hit the button? There we go, to the growth of the economy. So when we look at the worldwide economy, it's going up at 91% over 24 years. So here's what I can tell you. Our industry is growing 4 times faster than the global economy and gaining ground. So this is an exciting thing to have happen, but when we study the industry, we don't just look at it from sales, we look at it from salespeople. So as we look at salespeople, look at this. Today, almost 100 million people in the world use direct selling and network marketing as a business model. As you can see, 881% growth. This is an amazing statistic to see, and you'll see why in a minute. And as you can see, just like with the direct selling or with the sales, we see this massive growth coming up in the last 4 and 5 years. With both this, we see the economy, or we see this going up 21 out of 24 years. So about 90% of the time we're growing. Even during challenging economic times, our industry continues to grow. Here's what's scary. I was curious, if our sales force is growing this big, what's going on with the job market? And I was absolutely shocked when I researched this and found out over this 24-year period, the amount of jobs that existed in the world actually shrunk. And then my first question began, well, if the jobs have shrunk, hasn't there been population growth? So I researched this, 33% population growth. So over this period, there are now 2.8 million more people in the world than there were back 24 years before this data was created. So what we know, and the big question becomes, what do people do? What do you do in a world where the job market's shrinking and it continues to shrink and it continues to be problematic? It's really simple. You create your own work. And this has been the birth of the entrepreneurial movement, and this is what we are a part of. We're literally part of the world that is saying, there's nobody here to support us, the jobs aren't here. If the jobs are here, they're harder to get, and they begin to shrink, and because of this, we now have to take ownership of our life, and we see this entrepreneurial movement creating, and it's been growing for years. It's just really taken a lot of speed here recently. If we look at the global business model in totality, we are in 170 plus countries out of 196. Now, think about that for a second. Remember I told you that 2/3 of the world is earning how much money a day? Anybody remember? $2 a day. So I will tell you what this tells me is for that part of the world, direct selling is literally the introduction to the entrepreneurial movement. It is one of the few business models that exist around the world for those people to have upward mobility in their society. When I look at all this, and you have those people out there that tell you, no, this is a scam and this is illegal, think about it. 2.54 trillion, 100 million people involved, an accepted, proven, and legally viable business model in 170 plus countries. The data speaks for itself. How could it possibly be anything but great with this type of data? If we go a little deeper into the profile of our industry, I will tell you this, not all things are equal. And the first thing I look at is countries. So what you have up there in front of you are the top 24 countries out of the 170 plus that exist in our industry. You'll also notice that the first 5 create about 60% of all the sales, and you can follow it down where these 24 countries actually create 93% of all the worldwide sales. Here's what's exciting. Right now, if you look at the Juice Plus industry, you'll find that out of the first 5, we're really only in 1 because we have a very small presence in Japan. If we look at it overall, our business is only in 10 of the top 24 markets that exist in the world today. We really don't have a presence in the Far East, and we do not have a presence in South America. But even the 23 years that we've invested into the Juice Plus business, what we know is we have less than 1% of the population taking our product. And I'll tell you even a more staggering figure. It's not really less than 1%. It's less than 1/100th%. So all those people that think, oh my gosh, we missed the boat, it's too late. I will tell you that the Juice Plus movement hasn't even started yet. We are at the front end of this. And of course, there's a big focus on international expansion. So we also know that when we look at the sales, that not all things are equal there either. Because ultimately, there are really 2 camps in the direct selling industry. There's the top 100 companies, and there's the other 10,000. And as you can see, the top 100 countries make almost half of all the sales. Now, where do you think Juice Plus fits in that? Think they're in the top 100 or in the other 10,000? Juice Plus, as you see, we've been 100 years, 30 years, 20 markets, but Juice Plus is in the top 1/3 of the 100 companies. And I will tell you, I believe this in my heart. I always tell people the best is yet to come, but I'm going to tell you what I believe that best is. I believe it is a function of time before we are not in the top third, but we are literally number one in the world. And that's where you guys are headed. Now, I just want to point out one more important thing about this data because it's one of the biggest myths that exists inside of our business. And that is the myth that the way to make money is to get associated with the newest business. You got to get in on time. And this myth is populated all the time. And of course, who's it populated by? Those 10,000 companies that are trying to figure out how to survive. These are the companies that go out of business. These are the ones that give our industry a black eye. It's not the 100. So I will tell you, when people are out there trying to tell you the grass is greener on the other side, I will tell you the data tells me the exact opposite, that what you want to do and the strategy you want to look for is to align with a company when they're going through a growth phase. And I can tell you, in our business, I've seen 3 of them. I saw one when Jeff came about, when they took the company from $1 million a month to $1 million a day in sales, and millionaires were created. I saw one when we started the Juice Plus era, and now we've done over $10 billion in sales with that, and I've lost count for how many millionaires have been created. But I will tell you, the one that started a couple years ago, what I call the next generation of leadership, not only will change our business, but it will be the biggest momentum wave that we've ever had. This is what's going to really change the face of things. So, and from a timing perspective, I can tell you there's never been a greater time to be part of the Juice Plus family than it is today, at least not from a business and economic standpoint. And please don't buy into those people that try to sell you that a new company is the way, because what it really is the way to is to failure. And I've seen so many people that have gone down that route, and I'll tell you what happens. They just don't lose financially, they lose their credibility. There's so much else that goes with that. And this is a beautiful home here, so you want to stay with it. Of course, we know this is a model for the masses, and what I mean by that is, if you want to succeed here and you want to have abundance, it really doesn't matter about your economics. It doesn't matter if you lived on the street or you are a PhD from Stanford. Everybody comes in with the same opportunity. It doesn't really matter, what race you are, what creed, what religion, what your education level is, what your gender is, what your age is. All these things are factors that tell me direct selling is unique. It's the people's franchise. It is a model that allows anybody to participate and to build their own business. And of course, and this is a really exciting part for me, this industry is going through a change, a paradigm shift. And you don't see this happen much in your lifetime, but this paradigm shift is being driven by social media and technology. So here's what's different. If I go back and look at the history of network marketing and direct sales, the concept was, who do you know? And the idea is filling out a memory jogger or some type of a form and going out and talking to people about the products and the opportunities that you're a part of. Today, that is considered old school thinking. Today, business is about attraction. It's about building influence. It's about building an audience and learning to convert that traffic. And social media has become the mechanism to do this. And I see some amazing things. I'll just give you an example. I had one family that I was doing some consulting with the mother, and she had 2 kids that were, I guess, social media stars. I didn't know what that meant at the time. But one of the kids was 17 and had over 16 million followers on social media. And the other one was, I think at the time, 15, and he was at about 8.5 million followers on social media. And I was really curious how a kid at that age could build that large of an audience. And they told me they did it on Vine. And then I was like, I don't even know what Vine is. So I went to Vine and I found these kids' videos, and they're like, I think they were 6-second videos. So I go watch this video because I'm like, it must be incredible value if I can get this many people in 6 seconds. I look at this video and I'm like, I don't get it. I simply don't understand why all these people are following this. This was Nash Greer was the first guy's name. So I couldn't figure out why they were following Nash. So I went home and I asked my 16-year-old daughter, Callie, have you ever heard of Nash Greer? Like, oh my God, you know Nash Greer? And she starts going, can you get a picture? Is there any way we can meet him? She had a friend there. Her friend's literally jumping up and down. You would have thought I brought in Taylor Swift or Justin Bieber. And I didn't understand. I said, so Callie, help me understand what you saw as value. And they're like, they're the funny guys. And we passed their videos around. And the interesting part of it, they built this huge social media presence. And the challenge they were having, this is what I was working with the mom on, is how do you convert it? If you think about it, if your audience is a bunch of 15 to 18-year-old girls, they don't really have credit cards. And, trying to get paid off of that is interesting. So, got to make a long story short, the one kid is now in the movies, the oldest one, and the youngest one was just on Dancing with the Stars. So social media is changing in our world, and I will tell you, it has completely changed the face of our business. If we go back 3 years, what's different is the leadership. The Katies, the Johns, the Emmas, all these people that came, and the current leaders that are coming, came with something very unique, and that was they are the first generation in history that was fully digital. They grew up with phones. They grew up with the internet. When I grew up, the first phone, they didn't have phones. The first phone was a bag phone. I don't know if any of you remember that. Probably dating myself a little bit. And, there was no internet. We used mail, and it's just a completely different world. But this is the only generation in history, and think about that, in the entire history of mankind, the only generation that has a skill set that the generation ahead of them doesn't have. And because of that, what we're seeing is results like we've never seen. We're seeing speed and success in our business that we didn't even believe was possible. And now we realize that we're just at the early phase on this. And by the way, this whole movement started in this room. You guys started the change in our entire culture, and we thank you for that. So now this has evolved, and it's went to the U.S. and Italy and Spain and Australia, and we have this global movement, and we're now investing so much money into supporting and understanding social media, and certainly into technology that brings efficiency into business. And as you might have heard Dan say, this investment in the future is going to play a big difference in us separating ourselves from the other companies. And to be honest with you, I think right now we might be a little bit behind the curve from a corporate standpoint, but I will tell you from a leadership standpoint, we are way ahead of the curve, and all of you are going to help create this. So this shift is going to change our world. It's going to change how network marketing works. Those little graphs you saw are not going to grow like this. They're going to grow like this because of social media. So kind of here's the bottom line to me. Direct selling matters. This is a business model that is proven. This is a business model that grows no matter what. This is a business model that is changing the face of the world, that is giving opportunity in places that do not exist. And not only do I believe it can change everybody's life, but I believe there will be a day when the perception of our industry is not that we're the bad boys of the business models, but we're the most fair, profitable, and greatest business model in the world. So, now that we've looked a little bit about direct selling, let's talk about where we fit into this. The question is, where does Juice Plus fit into this whole thing? Well, of course, we have to start with the past. So what do we know about our company? And this is really important. Jay said 50 years. We're coming close to 50 years. And here's what I know after 50 years and studying and working with the company. I don't care what problem the company's had. I don't care if it was a product change. When we came out of the air and water filtration and went into Juice Plus. I don't care if it was an economic cycle. I don't care if it was some problem with regulatory, legal. It doesn't matter what it is. What I know about this company is, regardless of the problem, regardless of the cycle, they know how to make this business grow. And this becomes very important, and you'll see why later, because we're going into a season where business is going to get much tougher for a lot of people. So if you're looking for an opportunity, you want to be with a company that has a proven track record. We created something that had never been created in the history of network marketing, and that was an end consumer product model. And let me explain what I mean by that. Jay touched on this a little bit. Talked about direct selling and network marketing, how it was buyers clubs. There was never anybody that really had the business plan and the focus and the ability to create a sales culture, really a relationship culture, but a business model where the largest percentage of their sales came from end consumers. So an end consumer, not a distributor, a consumer that saw the merit in the product, the value in the product, and they took they took the product because of that. Today, our business, over 80% of our sales are from repeat business, from repeat customers, and from end consumers. And I will tell you that you will not find this anywhere in the industry. And what I always try to explain to people, if you understood the industry, here's what I will tell you about Juice Plus. We don't really fit the profile of the industry. What we are is the future of where it's going. This whole concept of the end consumer is where this industry is going, and it's going to play a big role, and we've sort of created that model. Of course, if we look at our culture, we're not a sales culture. Although we sell and we get new customers and new distributors, ultimately the success of our business is built on relationships. As you heard Jeff share, long-term success is about building long-term relationships. Our culture is all about that. Our culture is rich in relationships. It always has been, and it's foundational. And I will tell you why it's important. In my study of businesses for almost 30 years now, I've never seen a sales culture that lasted long-term, not one. So if you don't evolve to building relationships and building repeat business and clients and customer bases, then ultimately it comes at a huge cost to your longevity. We revolutionized the nutrition industry. So the Juice Plus business model, I remember this very well because I saw the original business plan. It came on my desk. Jay shared the story, a kind of funny story about Jeff and the girlfriend and Smokey. If you knew Jeff's girlfriend and Smokey, you'd know why they got talking on the plane, but that's for another time. I got this business plan called Juice on the Run, and I looked at the business plan, and it was a really cool concept, putting fruits and vegetables in a capsule, and I thought, wow, if this is possible, can you imagine how much we could begin to change the world? And of course, we took this to the company, and not only did we change the world, we created food in a capsule, did something that had never been done, but we also took a product and created a science, a book of research behind it. And I will tell you that not only do we have 35 studies, but we are the most proven scientific product that exists in the world today. I don't care whether you're network marketing or anywhere in the nutritional field. So we revolutionized it. I remember when we started, the whole concept of whole foods didn't even exist. We were a part of creating that. And then ultimately, what I will tell you, it's a fair and just business model. If you're willing to work, anything becomes possible. When we look at things today, here's the thing that jumps out the most to me. In 46 years of business, the business has never been better than it is today. Our sales have never been higher. Our customer base has never been larger. Our distributor base has never been larger. We've never experienced this kind of growth. So it's a very special time. Of course, we know this next generation of leadership is here. We talked about how the technology and social media movement has become part of the field and part of the company. And of course, we now have the most proven and strongest leadership that we've ever had. But the past and the present are great. How many of you, just have a show of hands, are here for the future? Yeah, me too. So let's talk a little bit about that, because I think that's ultimately what matters the most. So when I look at the future, what I will tell you is that we have a huge problem in our business. And here's what the problem is. The population growth is growing faster than our ability to get the product out to the marketplace. Years ago, I built something called Capitalizing on the Wellness Movement, and I talked about this S-curve, this way of looking at how products go into the marketplace, and they hit a certain point, and then they kind of explode and go from like 10 to 90% in a short period of time. And I will tell you that the saturation of our product doesn't go up every year. Even though we're having record sales, it goes down. And the reason it goes down is because the population growth is moving faster than the growth of our business. And this, to me, is an incredible opportunity. Can you imagine having a business with what we have and being in a situation where we're so new and so at the beginning of our journey that we can't even keep up with growth, let alone hit the base of the population? When we look at our product and our opportunity, there's something very unique about them. They're timeless. And this is good because we know that cycles can punish us. Why do we know the product's timeless? Well, when I go back to the beginning, we were kind of back after the water and air filter days. We were looking for a product, trying to figure out where do you get positioned. And Jay told a little bit about the story. But we kind of understood that the healthcare problem was a problem that was here to stay. And I can tell you that there's only one thing that's changed in 23 years. It's gotten worse. And we also heard everybody saying that the key to fixing the healthcare system was to stay out of it, this concept of prevention. And of course, we know that's grown over the years. When we decided to look for a space, we got into the nutritional supplement business, and the reason we got into it was because it was in a constant uptrend. I will tell you, it is no longer in a constant uptrend, with one exception. Anybody know what the one exception is? Whole food nutrition. So our product is the uptrend that exists in the supplement business today. When we look at Juice Plus, what are we really? We have just so much research and so many voices in the world saying we need to eat more fruits and vegetables. What's changed over the years is how many we're supposed to eat and how many people are pushing this. The visibility of this has went way up. The availability of fruits and vegetables all over the world has went way up. You know what hasn't went up? The consumption. So right now, that bridge that we are, that gap that we fill, is the biggest gap we've ever had, and it's one that continues to grow. And if you think about it, when are fruits and vegetables going to go out of being the answer for good health? This is something that's generational. This is something that is a timeless concept. And then when we think about the science and that we don't have any competition, if you ever see anybody talk about a fruits and vegetable capsule, what you'll hear them do is compare it to Juice Plus, because we are the brand in the marketplace. We created this space. And of course, when we look at the opportunity and we look at the tenets of our opportunity, low investment, home-based business, you can make quick profits, you can work as much as you want, there's time flexibility in this, and we're a global business model. This is the business model that works in any economic season. It's a timeless business model. And then, of course, as I said, we know that the journey has just begun. But here's where I kind of want to maybe really get your attention, because how many feel better about the industry after hearing about this? How about better about the company? Awesome. So now here's the bad news. Winter is coming. So I've been studying economics and business a long time. I talk to a lot of people. And what I mean by winter is coming, I believe that we are getting ready, I don't know when, probably more sooner than later, to go through an economic period that will be the worst economic period that we've ever been through in any of our lifetimes. And it's a little bit scary because there's all these kinds of different possibilities, but I will tell you that there will be two camps when this economic winter happens. There are going to be worriers, people that worry all the time, that are eaten up with fear, and there are going to be warriors. And these are the people that are going to seize and take advantage of this. If you're one of those warriors, if you're out there and you're worried about your job and you're going to continue to get paid, and what is your government going to do, and are they going to tax us more and take more fees from us, I can promise you that whatever fear you have, it will be elevated, because all that will come true. And if you're a worrier, here's my message to you. There's never been a more important time in my lifetime where you have to take ownership of your financial future than you do right now. And the sooner you do it, the better you're going to prepare yourself for what's coming. Now, if I go to the other side, if I go out there and I look at the warriors, if I go out there and I look at the people that have the mindset for success and are positioned with the right product and the right opportunity, the right company and the right culture, these are the people that are going to have a field day in the economic winter. These are the people that won't just seize the moment, but abundance will come to them. We saw this during the last kind of really great economic period, bad economic period we went was almost right before World War II and the Great Depression. And of course, it was really bad over here. But I will tell you, there were people in that were positioned in the right place that made absolute fortunes. And then there were people that didn't. There were people that didn't find the right home and didn't find the right place. And because of that, they got punished. So why are we the right place? Jay mentioned something that is almost the most fundamental thing to understand about opportunity, and that is problem solution. If you look at the two things that our business is really about, we are about solving the healthcare problem. We inspire healthy living around the world, and we are about helping people build a different financial future for themselves. What we know is the healthcare problem is not going to get worse, it's going to get catastrophic. And as it gets catastrophic, more and more people are going to reach out for answers, and more people are going to embrace prevention. And I believe that when you take what you have and you create visibility with it, the biggest challenge we're going to have in the future is keeping up with the growth that's going to come from the future and what we've built over the last really 46 years, especially the last 23 with Juice Plus. When I look at the economic side of the opportunity and the wealth side, listen, the job market's going to continue to contract. If you're in it, how many of you have lost hours, are getting paid less, are having more competition for the job positions that are out there? And this is what the world is going to begin to look like. It's going to become more and more competitive. So I encourage you, realize what you're a part of. We are a family here that is on a mission. And that mission is to inspire healthy living around the world. That mission isn't about our product. It's about our culture and all of us locking arms with the world and changing their health for the better. It's really about changing behavior. And what we've proven over 23 years with Juice Plus is we do this very well. We have the ability to live our mission and to change the world, and the world is really going to need us. And for those of you that go out and are willing to work, so this is an important concept. In the last month, I've listened to 3 billionaires speak and got to spend time with one of them. And all 3 of them talked about the economic winter. They talked about their life. Of course, they talked about how they made $1 billion, which was really interesting. But I will tell you, number 1 on their list, all 3 of them was this: you got to work hard. Listen, if you want to take advantage of the future and the timing of where we're at, and there's one message you want to take away from this, it's this: now's the time to go to work. Now's the time to roll up your sleeves, to start building your customer base, start building your team, because when this opportunity of the economic winter comes, you guys are all going to benefit from it. And you don't want to wait. You want to get ahead of this curve. And as I said, we're going to continue to see this, and hard work is something that's going to define us. So for me, it's a really simple message: the best is yet to come. And I believe that as great as things are, as amazing as the opportunity is, as amazing as our leadership and our product and our company is, I believe this is just the beginning. So I want to thank you for having me, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the conference. I can feel my face when I'm